Have you ever said, hey, you know what? Social Security is just not going to be there for me? I mean, I hear that from many of my clients, and it impacts the way they think about their retirement planning and the income that is going to come in. I wanted to share with you some of the challenges that the new administration is facing with regards to Social Security and some of the choices that are available in order to enhance the program long term. Before we get there, I want you to subscribe, however, to our channel and make sure that you're notified when we post new videos. So I want to share with you a story that recently occurred in my office with a client of mine. So I have a client, she's married, she's 62 years old, she's going to be retiring very soon. Her husband's older than she is. And she said to me that she wanted to take Social Security at age 63 because she wanted to take it sooner than later. She was concerned about, the feasibility of Social Security and whether or not it'll be here later. So she wanted to grab that money now. So I said, fine, let's do this. Let's update the retirement plan for you to show your retirement. And we'll go into the 7 different calculators that we have to see how to plan properly to maximize the benefit of Social Security. So we met 3 weeks later. And we said, based on your particular circumstance, your needs, your cash flow needs, your assets, et cetera, the planning actually shows you're much better off and can maximize your benefit if you take it at age 70. And we showed her, the different ways to do it. We talked about required minimum distributions for her husband, the assets that are coming in, consulting fees. It's not just Social Security that we deal with the retirement income plan. It's everything else as well, but try to massage it in such a way so she maximizes that benefit. So she said she understood. And then we talked a couple weeks after that, and she said, I understand what you're saying, and I understand what the numbers are, but I still feel uncomfortable about what Social Security might be later on. She said, I will make a change in the way I think about planning at the moment, and I won't take my Social Security until full retirement age. So we sort of met in the middle. And as I said to her, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just a matter of figuring out how to maximize that number. But the fear that some have with regards to the future of Social Security is impacting how the planning should be done. So I want to talk about some of the challenges ahead and some of the choices that this new administration has and Congress has in front of it. So we need to start with current projections, right? Based on the fact that if nothing happens, if we do not do anything now or in the next few years to come, that Social Security or the funding for the benefits that have been guaranteed, that in the year 2035, the Social Security Administration will only be able to mete out 79% of all of those benefits. And again, that assumes that we do nothing between here and there. So the fact that we go bankrupt isn't necessarily the right way to position it, because really the worst situation is that you only get about 80% of the benefit. But as a society, as a Congress, we tend to just sort of take a look at things at the very last minute, just before we're going over the cliff. So it may be a little while before we get to it, but I'm pretty comfortable that Congress will be getting to this and will be making changes to, if you will, either kick the can down the road or provide for remedies that will help to secure some of that funding. Now, if you're really interested in diving in deep into some of these challenges that are available and some of the options that we may have, there are other videos on my channel here that address some of them very specifically and in great detail. In this video, I'm sort of going to talk from 30,000 feet with regards to, first and foremost, what the Biden administration is thinking about in terms of making adjustments and the possible impact it may have to you and others. So right now, the current thinking is from the Biden administration that there'll be a 12.4% tax on upwards of the first $142,800 that is earned, and then an additional tax that would go for Social Security for those who are earning more than $400,000. And those who would benefit, they fall into a number of different categories. The first category is low wage earners. If that individual had worked for 30 or more years and they look like they're going to get a very low benefit, then the benefit that would be available to them for Social Security could potentially be raised up to 125% of the original benefit. For widows, what the Biden administration is suggesting is that the widow receive at least 75% of what the benefit would have been if the two of them were still there, still alive, which is an increase from where we are right now. Caregivers, for those who are caring for children who are under 12 or for family members who are disabled, would now earn credits for their Social Security so they get a future benefit. Another interesting thought from the Biden administration is those who have been receiving their benefits for a long period of time in this situation for more than 16 years, and that there would be automatic increases in their benefits because it's recognized that the older we get, the more the health care costs increase. And he wants to peg more Social Security increases as we get older to cover for some of those health care increases. And finally, he's looking at changing the way the cost of living adjustment is administered. There's a particular CPI right now that he's looking at that would be different than the inflation index that the Social Security trustees are looking at now. And that would amount to about an extra 0.2% increase in terms of future projected inflation increases that would help those who are receiving Social Security, again, which is the cost of living adjustment or the COLA. If this plan is put in place, it is projected that the Social Security fund would not have an issue for an additional 5 more years, or we're kicking the can from 2035 down to up to 2040, where before we would find any financial situation or hardships for the fund, which would then translate to fewer guarantees for those who are receiving them. In addition to these proposed changes, there are more aggressive changes proposed by some of the Democrats who are wishing to impose the 12.4% tax and bringing it from $400,000 down to $250,000. And then there are a couple of Senators Warren and Sanders, who are looking to impose that Social Security tax on investment-related income for high net worth individuals. The Trump proposal of eliminating the payroll tax completely is now off the table. A lot of what we hear about or read about in the headlines, comes from, whoever is president at the time. And this is certainly not new. We've been talking about changes to Social Security. Last time there were major changes implemented were in the early 80s. But the president cannot make these changes. He or she can suggest changes, but it lays in the lap of Congress, and they are the ones who are empowered with the power of making these changes. The person to really follow here is John Larson, who's the Democrat from Connecticut, who's the chairman of the Social Security subdivision of the House Ways and Means Committee. And he has agreed already with, some of the changes proposed by the new Biden administration, but he's had for quite some time also some additional enhancements that he was considering. So it really is going to be important now and in the next few years to take a look at how he's thinking about things, what Congress is saying about it. And my guess is, as we get closer to having some financial issues with the funding of Social Security, and it may take a few years from now, but I think that you'll be seeing more relevant, more substantial, more substantive conversations with regards to the changes to Social Security over the next couple of 3 years. And it is important to remember There's $3 trillion sitting in that fund right now, and nothing is going to impact those guaranteed payments for at least the next 10 years, say one study, or 15 years per the Social Security trustees. So right now, we're not worried about it, but we understand something needs to happen about it. And these are the conversations that we're having with our clients to properly inform them and educate them on how to think about it now and later so they can make the intelligent decision as to when it would be right to make that irrevocable decision to choose their Social Security. I hope this has been informative for you. I hope you have a retirement income plan in place. And if you haven't, what you may want to do is take a look at our quiz to see how prepared you are for retirement. Thanks very much for watching, and I really do hope you enjoy the retirement journey.